Tonight, from rivals to allies, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton hit the campaign trail together. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, a major development in the 2001 anthrax attacks. The government has agreed to pay millions to the former Army scientist who was implicated but never charged in the attacks. High-tech help. A new device provides relief from excruciating migraines. And Steve Hartman's a proud new papa. He's just not sure if his baby's that cute.
And how do you feel about that baby?
No, I was asking you.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. It was a remarkable scene. Two politicians who competed head-to-head in the longest primary battle ever stood side by side today in unity. New Hampshire, that is. Democrats Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton traveled to a town where they split the primary vote to show they're on the same team now. Dean Reynolds is in New Hampshire. And Dean, I guess the question is whether Senator Clinton's supporters are all on board.
That's right, Katie. You know, after what they've been through, it was striking to see them together today, trying to wipe the slate clean and hoping their supporters get the message.
The one-time rivals mounted the stage in this town called Unity, beaming with political fellowship.
Now, Hillary and I may have started with separate goals in this campaign, but we've made history together.
And many in the crowd said they were convinced it was a show of authentic camaraderie.
I am proud that we had a spirited dialogue. That was the nicest way I could think of phrasing it.
She rocks. She rocks. That's the point I'm trying to make.
For Clinton, who fought the good fight for so long, the words on this day must have been as hard to say as they were strange to hear.
We have gone toe-to-toe in this hard-fought primary. But today and every day going forward, we stand shoulder to shoulder.
Swing states, folks!
And yet the same could not be said for several of her supporters who were here at the rally and were undeterred by Clinton's call for unity.
I am going to write Hillary's name in.
And you're going to do that because?
I think that she should be the president.
Recent polls show perhaps 1 in 5 Clinton supporters might defect to John McCain.
I'm not bitter, I'm informed.
Hillary backer Carol Stone Oakes is one.
Do you think you'll vote for John McCain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
There's no question.
Really?
Yes, really.
It is evidently a political phenomenon large enough to get the attention of Clinton herself.
And to anyone who voted for me and is now considering not voting or voting for Senator McCain, I strongly urge you to reconsider.
Of course, there is one thing that these would-be John McCain voters say could change their minds: if Barack Obama picks Hillary Clinton as his running mate. Katie?
All right, Dean Reynolds. Dean, thank you. Jeff Greenfield, meanwhile, is our senior political correspondent. And given the hard feelings we just heard expressed by some of those Hillary Clinton supporters, Jeff, do the Democrats have a problem?
I don't think so. There's going to be backbiting, resentment. If Obama's campaign is in trouble, there'll be "I told you so" emails from Clinton operatives. But when parties fracture, it's usually because of ideological differences, rejecting Goldwater as too conservative or McGovern as too liberal. There are very few policy differences here. And also, I think John McCain, the more he has to talk to the conservative base to change his own image as a kind of heretic, the more Democrats are likely to say, oh, I'm just not going to go with that alternative. It's too conservative for me.
What kind of strategy are we seeing emerge out of the McCain campaign so far, or are we seeing a strategy?
There are Republicans who kind of echo Winston Churchill's comment about the pudding, that it has no theme, but they're also saying that John McCain is playing a supporting role in almost absolutely. They think this campaign is going to be about fundamentally Obama. The country wants change. It's cool to Republicans. If Obama convinces them on values and experience he's okay, he's going to win. And what McCain has to be is the old John McCain, to be the kind of admired, acceptable alternative if Obama fails to meet the test of the independent and swing voters.
All right, Jeff Greenfield. Jeff, thanks so much. In other news, late word tonight of a settlement in a lawsuit over the deadly 2001 anthrax poisoning case in New York, Washington, D.C., and Florida. It has never been solved, and now the Justice Department is paying a former Army scientist, Stephen Hatfield, millions of dollars for naming him as a possible suspect. Bob Orr has more.
When anthrax-laced letters to Capitol Hill and media offices began killing people just weeks after 9/11, the FBI was under intense pressure to make an arrest. Clues in the case were tantalizing. Handwritten letters referencing 9/11, filled with a deadly powdery anthrax that seemed to be the creation of a well-trained scientist. Less than a year after the mailings that killed 5 people and sickened 17 others, Attorney General John Ashcroft pointed an accusing finger.
Mr. Hatfield is a person of interest to the Department of Justice.
Without spelling out its evidence, the government identified Stephen Hatfield, a former Army scientist at the bioweapons lab in Fort Detrick, Maryland, as a person of interest, the only public suspect. Investigators went to great lengths to prove their suspicions. They trailed Hatfield, searched his apartment, and even drained a lake near his home, looking for evidence connected to the anthrax mailings. But he was never arrested, never charged, and today the government was forced to pay. In settling a lawsuit filed by Hatfield, the government agreed to pay almost $6 million, a one-time cash penalty of $2.8 million, and $3 million more over the next 20 years. The government admitted no wrongdoing. Hatfield, who's been fired from a top research job at LSU, had no immediate reaction. But in a statement, his attorneys slammed the government, saying the affair caused great damage to Dr. Hatfield's personal life and professional reputation.
Nearly 7 years later, the anthrax attack remains the nation's largest unsolved terrorist case. The FBI has done 9,000 interviews and claims it's still an active investigation. But they've now lost their top suspect, and there's no hint that any arrests are imminent. Katie?
All right, Bob, we're in Washington tonight. Bob, thank you. Turning now to the CBS News Money Watch, Wall Street is this close to a bear market. By most definitions, that means a 20% drop from the market high. And the Dow is off by 19.9% since October. Today, it closed down by nearly 107 points. It's down about 10% this month, making it the worst June since, believe it or not, 1930, when the Dow fell by nearly 18% during the Great Depression. And as stocks tumbled, oil kept rising to a new record just under $143 a barrel before settling back to $140. So what can investors do to ride out the storm? Here's Jeff Glor.
About the only good thing about the week on Wall Street is that it's over. Now the question is whether a market that dropped into bear market territory keeps falling or pulls itself up from worries about housing, oil, and even more losses among America's biggest banks.
I'm really concerned about the market drop, really.
Howard and Norma Goldberg went to financial advisor Michael Kresch today for reassurance. His advice? Stay calm.
The first thing I tell anybody right now is to make sure you go to your medicine cabinet and get out a little Prozac.
Because there are some positive signs for the economy. Consumer spending was actually up in May. Personal income, too, the highest level since 1975. Why? You can thank those government stimulus checks. More than 94 million people have received their one-time payments, a total of nearly $78 billion. A lot being spent immediately.
The rebate checks are going to go towards stuff you need now.
Yes, immediately. You know, food on the table, paying my rent, putting gas in my car.
Walmart tells CBS News they're seeing sales of basic items and home entertainment, DVDs and game systems. A sign people may be staying home, riding out a financial storm that may be months from clearing.
What do consumers do 3-4 months from now if they're still losing jobs and their rebate checks obviously are a one-time deal?
So what do consumers and investors do? The financial experts repeat to us, do not panic. Katie, right now, easier said than done.
That's for sure. Jeff Glor. Jeff, thanks so much. Meanwhile, the airlines are wrestling with ways to offset skyrocketing fuel costs, and so much for a free ride. Today, Delta announced it's hitting frequent flyers with surcharges on their free tickets. $25 on flights in the U.S. and Canada, and $50 on overseas flights. Overseas in Zimbabwe, the polls have now closed in a presidential election that's been plagued by violence and called a sham by the U.S. and many other countries. The results should be announced tomorrow, but we know who the winner will be. The man with an iron grip on a country in crisis. From Washington, here's Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Lara Logan.
Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe cast his vote today in a presidential runoff that has only one candidate, himself. His popular opponent, Morgan Tsvangirai, was forced to pull out of the race as his supporters were tortured and murdered by Mugabe's thugs.
What is happening today is not an election. It is an exercise in mass intimidation, with the people all over the country being forced to vote.
No one has been spared in this campaign of state-sponsored violence, not even the young.
Next.
One of the few foreign journalists allowed into the country, Chris McGreal, told CBS News how voters were being terrorized.
On the streets of the townships, there are armed militias moving around, burning people out their homes if they think they're opposition supporters, beating people up and snatching women and raping them. And I think that people are absolutely terrified in many places.
This cell phone video shows how corrupt the voting has been. It's supposed to be a secret ballot, but police were forced to vote in front of their bosses.
This kind of sham could not possibly produce a legitimate outcome, and that is the view of the United States.
The fraudulent ballot takes place as Zimbabwe nears collapse. Its people are starving, its economy in ruins. And after 28 years as president, Mugabe relies on death squads to keep him in power. So many opposition supporters have been killed and imprisoned in the last few weeks that their leader Tsvangirai urged his own followers to vote for Mugabe, saying, "God knows what is in your hearts. Don't risk your lives." Katie?
Lara Logan in Washington. Lara, thanks very much. One more note from overseas. North Korea's most visible nuclear symbol was demolished today. A planned explosion took down the cooling tower at its main nuclear reactor, where the secretive government made plutonium for nuclear weapons. Yesterday, President Bush lifted sanctions against the North Koreans after they handed over details of that country's nuclear program. There is much more CBS News ahead, including tonight's star-filled birthday bash for Nelson Mandela. But up next, a possible breakthrough in treating the misery of migraines without drugs.